Skating Arts, and today we're going to make card number 2 and 3 using the Hero Arts My Monthly Hero Kit. And for card number 2, I'm actually just going to walk you through it. I already made it off camera, so I'm hoping that I explained this well enough that you could recreate this if you wanted to. I do really like how it came out, so I wanted to share it with you guys. And you'll see my hands moving around quite a bit because I was going to record this live, but it just didn't work out. Anyways, this is the card that I made. It's using that flower heart bouquet die that I've been using constantly on everything. I start out with the outline image and I stamp that down 2 separate times, and then I go over that with the solid image, and then I use the ink that was included in the kit to stamp this pink color over the black outlines. I die cut one of them, and the other one I fussy cut out individual flowers. You'll see here that they are in varying depths, and I used foam tape to put them down, and I also skipped some of them and they're just the bottom die cut. So I thought that was fun and it would come out looking pretty cool. Then I stamped the little, this is either cellophane or whatever you want it to be, but I decided that I would make it be craft paper and then maybe like paper. So that's why it's colored this way. I used my distress markers to color that in. And then the bow that's on there is actually a bigger bow that came in the set. It's not the one that's actually on the stamp itself is smaller, but it would have poked out underneath there. So I actually cut it down on the side so that I could use that bow. And I'm showing you right here how small the bow is on the stamp the way it's supposed to be. So I die cut that out, I colored it in with the ink that was included in the kit, and then I also added some Wink of Stella clear glitter brush pen to give it some nice shimmer right there. Also, on the top of that stamp, when you die cut it out, there's still some white border left, so I did cut that off so that when I butt it up against the roses, it would look proper and it wouldn't have this weird white border in between the two. So I really like how that came out. I stamped the sentiment, Stop and Smell the Roses, on the bottom. That was also in the kit. I used a pink pigment ink for that, and simply just because I did it on the wood grain background and I wanted to make sure that it was legible. To tie in that pink, I added a piece of pink cardstock on the back, and I also tied that pink cardstock in the inside of the card, and that piece on the inside is actually die cut out of the one on the outside, but you would never know because it's covered up. And the die that I used for that is actually from the Wish app, and it came in this set of like 4 or 5, but this is the biggest die, so they're really small. And then I used the Happy Valentine's Day sentiment, just use some black ink for that, and then I thought it would be fun to punch out a bunch of hearts and throw those in there. So card number 3 is going to be an actual tutorial, and I'm starting off with a piece of Bristol paper. This tutorial is going to include a technique that I saw from Creativation. It's a technique that Tim Holtz was showing using his new stamp positioning tool. He has one coming out by Tonic, and we will be carrying that in the store when it's available, by the way. The one I'm using is by Hampton Arts, and it's called the Stamp Perfect tool, and then there's a bunch of others. We carry a We Are Memory Keepers one, there's obviously the Misty, and you have a lot of choices when it comes to these tools now. So I'm going to take my that same flower bouquet, heart bouquet out of this set. Also, I did meet Tim Holtz at Creativation, so I might throw a little picture in here for you guys to see just for fun. It was in Phoenix this year, so I got to go. It was pretty awesome, and I hope to be able to go next year. So, met him and a bunch of other craft celebrities. So, anyways, I'm going to start off with my distress markers in Candied Apple, Worn Lipstick, Picked Raspberry, and Abandoned Coral. And I'm going to color the solid image of that bouquet. And the cool thing about this technique is you can just be very random, go around and color in your image, and if you mess up at all, you can just redo it because you're using a stamp tool like this. Now, I did miss a few parts, but that was fine because I was going to be going back in it anyways. You just color however you want, and then you spray it with some water and stamp it down. So hopefully it comes out how you want. For me, it definitely took quite a few tries of doing this to get it how I wanted, especially because the first time I only spritzed it with 1 spritz of water, and that was definitely not enough water. So you'll see here, I'm going to stamp that down, and it's very patchy and I guess just kind of dry looking. It doesn't look very juicy or anything. So I'm going to go back again, and I think I spray it to see if I can get any more, which you do get a little bit more because there's still some ink down on the stamp. But I ended up going back in with the markers again and just keeping at it until I got a look that I wanted. So again, that's something that's really awesome about using a stamping tool like this, is you have that option and it's going to be stamping on the same spot over and over and over. So I'm just doing that one last time, making sure I get it how I want it. Then I can move on to the outline image, and I'm just going to do the outline image in black. When I stamped this, it actually was not dry, so make sure that you dry it all the way before you stamp the black, just because it could wick out and it could mess up what you just did. So I ended up taking it off, drying it, and then trying to re-stamp it. So I ended up with a slightly blurry image in the end because I could not get it lined up perfectly how I had it the first time. So just be warned, you want to make sure that your cardstock is dry before you do that. So it came out good, and I don't know, I guess I just freaked out and then I messed it up. So for the background piece of this, it's going to be black and white so that that focal image really pops, and that's the only thing that's in color. Again, this is going to be super easy to do because we have this stamping tool and you can just go over and over and over. So I'm just going to move the stamp around and do it in a bunch of different directions and just fill up this whole piece of paper. Also, this piece of paper was larger than what my card front is actually going to be, which is nice because then you can cut it down and use the parts that you want to. So just going to finish that up, and then I'm going to die cut out the piece that we colored. This kit came with dies for almost everything, so it's really awesome, super easy to just die cut that out, and I have to use washi tape because I don't have my magnetic surface yet. Alright, so back to this original piece here. Again, like I said, we're just going to cut down a little bit of it so that my thought with this was that I was just going to cut the sides down, and I wanted to do that so I could have cardstock peeking out of the sides, but not on the top and the bottom. And the interesting thing about that is in the end, it looks like a really tall card, even though it's the same exact dimensions as an A2. It's 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and next to my other card that I made, it looks taller. It's really weird how that works. So I put the colored image on top of one of the ones that I stamped in black and white, and then I'm trying to I said pick and figure at the same time. I'm trying to pick which sentiment I want to use, and I decided to do "You Are Loved," and I'm going to stamp that in black ink on some pink cardstock, and I'm using this translucent grid. It's actually made by Little Bee, and it's meant for die cutting, but I use that to help me figure out if it's straight, and got that stamped down with some VersaFine ink. I just keep switching inks for really no apparent reason, but Memento does work pretty well with the watercolors. Anyway, so I'm going to stamp that down, make sure that it looks good, and this ink is great for sentiments and detail. And then I will just cut that down and add some ATG adhesive on the back of it and put it in the bottom area of the card. So for this part of the video, I probably could have edited this out, but I just could not bring myself to do it. I'm crafting with my baby on my lap, and she wanted to help mommy, and it was so adorable. So you guys get to watch me pick off the little backings of the foam squares so that I can just keep this part of the video in, because someday I'm going to watch it and go, oh my gosh, look at how tiny her hands are. They are so cute. So I hope you like babies and you don't mind. In the end, I did have to put her hand away because she was you know, hurting a little more than she was helping. But I was able to get this down on a piece of pink cardstock, and I was actually able to get it straight, luckily, somehow. Then I mounted that on a black card base, and I think this one is pretty much done. I didn't do a sentiment on the inside. I'm just going to probably write with a white jelly roll pen, whatever I want to say in there. So there's card number 2 and 3 using the Hero Arts My Monthly Hero kit, and I'll be getting another one next month. See you guys soon. Bye.